questions. At the outset, I just want to bring to everyone's attention something I got in the mail at my house yesterday. This happens to be the first campaign flyer for Melinda Katz. I want everybody to see here. Delivering safety and justice for Queens. Who's feeling the safety?
No.
Who's feeling the justice? No. Safety and justice. During her tenure, crime in Queens, the 7 index crimes: murder, rape, robbery, felony assault, grand larceny, all up over 50%. In Patrol Borough, Queens North, over the past 5 years, she's been DA for close to 4 years now. Shooting incidents up over 250%. Delivering on safety? Really? Hey, Bob Sasso, were you feeling the justice? Were you feeling the justice, Bob? Ignoring victims. Where's the justice? Great flyer, DA Katz. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. The voters of Queens will see through this propaganda, just as I have, and you can be guaranteed I will call you out on it everywhere, every time, every day I can. I'll be happy to take
All right,
some
so hi, my name is Christopher. I want to know how you feel about Melinda Katz. She's not doing her job because she don't want to piss off working families, the socialist working families party. Yeah, I know. I want to know how you feel about Melinda Katz. She don't want to piss off the working families party, the socialists.
Yeah, that's
check.
Yeah. So I want to know. My name is Christopher. Yeah, I got 2 phones. My name is Christopher Johnson. I want to know how you feel about Melinda Katz. Don't want to piss off the working families party, so she's soaked on crimes. How you take what you take in the DSA? How you feel about that?
It's horrible. Let me give you a specific example. And unfortunately, she wasn't the only DA in New York City to participate in this. Governor Hochul just had this so-called victory lap press conference on public safety about 2 weeks ago in the context of her so-called follow-up on bail reform. The follow-up on bail reform and discovery, first of all, the bail reform follow-up was totally dishonest because they did not address the ability to give judges the authority to set bail if someone is considered to be dangerous. They left the whole unqualified offense structure totally in place that is responsible for people to create dozens and dozens of crimes, including selling drugs with fentanyl on our street, and be let out again. They didn't touch discovery at all. The discovery, which is attached to speedy trial laws and forces district attorneys to throw out felony cases in large numbers, to the point that Queens in 2021 only had a 5% felony conviction rate. That wasn't even touched. And there is Melinda Katz right next to the governor, smiling and waving like this was a great success. That's because she's afraid of the left. And that's the answer to your question.
So one more question. Do you think she's Tiffany Gabbana 2.0 because she's acting more like Tiffany Gabbana these days?
Well, here's the thing with Tiffany Gabbana and Melinda Katz. At least Tiffany Gabbana is straight up and honest about her points of view. Where politicians like Katz, they swim in the current and pretend to people, like with the flyers that she just sent out, one of which to my house yesterday, is I'm delivering on safety and I'm delivering on job. I got to let other people ask questions now.
You mentioned this victim services unit.
Yes, I mentioned that.
There's currently a unit within
a
program within the Queens State.
Yeah, well, we're bringing it up to another level because we're going to make sure that people like Bob Sasso, when they have a crime pending, they've got one go-to person, and they can call that person in that unit, and they can know exactly what the status of the case is. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to apply it to cases that they're thinking about. The DA's office is thinking about dismissing, in the context of the conviction integrity unit. We're going to make sure that early on in that process, that victims of those crimes are notified by that unit. I don't believe any of that is happening. I'm telling you right now, with the Victims Liaison Unit that we will create and establish when I'm district attorney, those things are going to be happening. And I invite you to check with any of the victims in the cases that were recently dismissed by the Convictions Integrity Unit if any of them were contacted early on in the process. And I happen to be aware of some horror stories in that respect with respect to victims. And actually, Madeline, you have some information on that, right?
Yes.
Would you like to speak to that, the DeAsia? Yeah.
Sure. Currently in Manhattan, they have what's called WASU. That's the Witness Aid Services Unit. They provide services free of charge to me and my family for 2 years, which consisted of two 30-minute a month counseling sessions with a social worker. I would go to her office and she would let me just talk for 30 minutes twice a month. And that was it. That's the extent of the services that they have for victims. They treated me and my family like garbage, plain and simple, all right? There are no services for victims. There are more services for the criminal and their family than there are for victims and their family. We are fictitious characters.
So Jennifer Harrison, who can't be here because she's sick, she has been in contact with Deja Robinson's family. Yesterday was the 10-year anniversary of Deja Robinson's killing. She was killed on a Queens bus by a stray bullet. 2 of the people who shot into that bus were convicted, and last year one of their convictions was overturned by Melinda Katz's Conviction Integrity Unit. Deja Robinson's family, who currently lives in Florida, they were notified 2 days before the case went to the trial. 2 days before the conviction was overturned. So they couldn't even make it to New York in time. That's the extent of Melinda Katz's current victim advocacy program.
We have a statement from her, and we could elaborate further if you want, but that's outrageous. I mean, regardless of what the district attorney's office may think of the strength of the legal issue to move forward on the vacatur of an otherwise lawful conviction, 2 days' notice to a family in Florida at the end of the process is outrageous. So I'll say firsthand, they're not doing anything in the current administration, yet they're proudly touting, look at all the convictions we vacated. What about the victims? I hope that answers your question.
Well, I mean, on that, would you close the CIU?
No, I wouldn't. I respect the whole concept of a conviction integrity unit. Certainly, we have to take a hard look at these matters and make sure that I think as the current district attorney, that the conviction stands. But if I'm considering seriously vacating a conviction where we have homicides and we have victims in Florida, the victims must be notified. That's called fairness. That's called justice. You can't have one-sided justice, Jacob. So absolutely keep the unit in place, but make sure victims are part of the equation as well. That is not happening now. Yes.
So Mayor Adams recently released a retail theft crime plan. So I just wanted to know, what did you think about that? Do you think it's going to actually help in the city or in Queens? And if you are elected DA, how would your office handle and prosecute retail theft crimes?
All right, well, the first thing we have to do, this is where we've got to make sure it's going to be a priority throughout Queens. Now, I understand Melinda Katz has taken some steps in the 109 precinct to start leaning into these things a little bit more. I mean, it's a little too late. 3.5 years in her tenure with theft and crime across the board in Flushing off the hook. So what I'm going to do, if you look at my platform, you see quality of life as a major platform item. I will make it clear, and I will reestablish quality of life enforcement. And I will do the equivalent of town hall meetings. I'll divide Queens up into quadrants. And I will involve precinct commanders. I will involve the appropriate Queens borough commanders. And working hand in hand with the community, we're going to bring in merchants. We're going to bring in the business sector. We're going to bring in the clergy. And we will make it very clear that across the board, retail theft is a high priority. And I will have units in place in the district attorney's office to make sure that we identify recidivists. The police department has a specific list of theft recidivists. We will identify them. We will prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. Also, I will be a fierce advocate in Albany to get this unqualified offense. We've got to remove all of this theft, this whole concept of unqualified offenses. We've got, and then they come up with these Rube Goldberg plans of, well, if you had one crime and another crime, you can't put bail on the new crime, but you could put bail on the old crime. This is designed, it's like the old game Mousetrap. It's designed not to work. So I will be a leading advocate to give judges and the criminal justice system the authority to prioritize these cases and let individuals throughout Queens know, starting in Queens, if you want to wantonly go into business establishments and steal, Judge Grasso will find a way to hold you accountable, and if you keep doing it, put you in jail.
I know you touched on it a little bit, but how do you think the ACATS is handling theft in Queens right now, retail theft in Queens?
Like I said, the best language I could use right now is too little, too late. As far as I can see, for the first 3 years of her tenure, it was basically ignored as an issue. Over the last few months, while she has a serious challenger, now she's engaged. Too little, too late. That's how I would describe it. And it's backed up by the crime numbers. And the numbers in Flushing, in the 109 precinct, by the way, a precinct that has a population of about 300,000, alone it would be one of the largest cities in the United States. Over the past 2 years, we're looking at 7 majors up about 120%. We're looking at robberies and felony assaults up in the 150% range. We're looking at grand larceny numbers and grand larceny auto numbers like we haven't seen in decades. So she is doing a horrible job when it comes to public safety. And then she has the goal to start sending out these flyers. If that's delivering on safety, I just saw an article today about hundreds of thousands of people moving out of New York. Queens will be empty in 10 years. Any other questions? Okay. Thanks a lot.